Truth be told, this TikTok actually inspired me to do this video. It's crazy because I never thought in a million years that a TikTok would make me want to do a hip hop type video. But it's Lupe Fiasco and Kendrick Lamar. And a lot of people be saying that Lupe Fiasco is a hater of Kendrick Lamar. Now, granted, I listened to maybe 2 Lupe Fiasco songs when I was growing up. Not even 2 songs. The only song I heard from Lupe was Superstar. I'm not a Lupe Fiasco fan, so I hope I get to learn a little bit more information for the people who are a Lupe Fiasco fan. I'm more of a Kanye type of guy when I was growing up. Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Dipset. You know what I'm saying? That was my ilk. But let's see if Lupe Fiasco comes off as a hater.
Lupe Fiasco does not see Kendrick Lamar the way that majority of the world sees him, and that's okay. In the last 24 hours, I've been getting comments, sort of maybe talking about this issue, asking me to talk about it. And I went back, try to play some of the audio of the spaces. I even was in Lupe spaces today. That's me right there, K, listener. And I did an impromptu listening. Didn't have much time just to kind of hear Lupe out. But the reality is a lot of this stuff has been bubbling for a while. Now, the causes, I'm not quite sure. Some of you would say jealousy. I hear hints of it. Some of you would say it's because, he thinks he's just actually better than Kendrick. I hear hints of that. Some of you would say because Lupe thinks he's more of the hip-hop police. I hear hints of that. And then I'll give you what the majority of the topic, I think, has been, surrounding the Lupe and Kendrick sort of fiasco, no pun intended, lately. And it really is this for me, this portion where he says, and this is just a rundown. It's been so much being said, but I just want to run down a portion of what Lupe has said, kind of give you a text portion of it, and then give you a little bit of my actual opinion, right? Where he says, if you want to start with who's in and who's out, and he's talking about, in the battle and, the belief that, Drake is not hip hop and things like that. I'm just summarizing. It's not exact, but just walk with me. So he says, I don't agree with that. I think it's BS. The process is BS. If you want to do that, you should have a degree. Notice these key words. You should have a PhD in hip hop. If you ain't got that.
Oh my God. I don't like this take. You should have a PhD in hip hop. Hip hop is subjective. You can have, even if you have the worst hip hop opinions, and I've heard a couple. Trust me, I've heard the most craziest shit. I've heard the most craziest hip hop takes. But if that's your opinion, you entitled to your opinion. That's like saying, oh, you should have a PhD in basketball in order to talk about the sport. No, nigga, if you smoke 5 layups, I don't need a PhD in basketball to see that you smoked 5 layups. You went for the layup and you airballed. I don't need a PhD for that, my nigga. It's like when one of those basketball. Oh, well, you never was a professional basketball player, so you can't give your take about basketball because you never made it to this high level. I don't like those takes like that. I don't like takes like that. You don't need a PhD in hip hop, in my opinion. Your opinion is your opinion. You're entitled to it. PhD in hip hop is crazy.
That I don't think you're qualified to have a right to speak on hip hop. Just because you rap and sold a bunch of records, I don't think at this point, and it's to the point now that it's visceral, and it's to the point when people are making decisions on it, it's hurting people and building up others. And it shouldn't just be based on some dude at a podcast. So now he's not only necessarily just talking about Kendrick, right? He's talking about the people that are maybe speaking on podcasts, or even people like me that are speaking, maybe somewhat positively of Kendrick and what Kendrick has just did with Drake. And there's so much more to this. It's not enough time to cover it. There's times where he said he's a better lyricist. There's time where he, has been more positive about Drake. So he's also not sharing the same attitude that Kendrick shares about Drake. Now, when I just read that text, what does that make me think of? I think of Lupe using words like PhD, degrees. And I know that Lupe, from what I know, please correct me if I'm wrong, teaches at, is it Harvard or MIT? I don't want to get that wrong. I double checked. He's a professor at MIT, and I believe he teaches rap as a historical class, like hip hop as a historical class.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
So I think Lupe sees himself. You gotta understand this now. Now we're getting into my opinion. This is how Lupe sees himself, how Lupe sees Kendrick, and how Lupe is now starting to see hip hop. It's so weird because I think a lot of people that are fans of Kendrick are expecting Lupe to share the same views of Kendrick and share the same views of hip hop. And I think that Lupe, there's a mix of him being a little more progressive, but a little bit of hints of jealousy and envy. Right? You gotta think Lupe is not only very skilled lyricist, dabbled a little bit into the commercial realm of hip hop, and I think decided he wanted out. But he's watching someone who's also a dope, great lyricist do some of that, and not necessarily have to, get out of the commercial realm. Kendrick can do what he pleases. Now, that might be critique of Lupe, but let's get into some positive sides, right? And just keep Kendrick out of the motion for a second. I think that Lupe is honestly a student of this game. I think that he is rightfully, not only because of his skill and what he's contributed, can place himself a little higher because he's now getting to the academia side of things, right? And I also think he's asking some forward questions. I hear a lot of things that he was saying.
Bro, get to the fucking point, man. Fuck.
That people don't like when he's talking about ghostwriters, writers, the composition of music. The more
like this comment is very. I like this comment right here. He probably has a point. He could be hating a little bit. Two things could be true. But come on, bro. You come on.
Complex things that go into music and how I think he wants to be.
Yeah, talking about the complex of the majority of the spectrum of the molecular tacular. Like, nigga, just make your fucking point. Do you think the nigga a hater or what? What are we talking about?
Forward because he doesn't want to just limit what can happen in hip hop. And to that, I think Lupe is right. I think a lot of the purists who used to look up to Lupe may not agree. But however, the pushback I've got to give to Lupe is that Lupe has to understand, in my respect, just in my opinion, that the sport isn't as progressive. It's never going to move as progressive as he wants it to, because there's always going to be a separation or a clash of commercialism in the art. I shouldn't even say just sport all the time because it's not battle rapping. In the art of hip hop, in the culture of hip hop, and the underground realm. And I think we're intertwining that. So a lot of people that love hip hop on these podcasts and things like that, I think they're always speaking to an underground perspective. Whereas there's the commercialism part of hip hop, which I think Lupe is thinking about now that he's in these academic spaces, and maybe he's looking for the next future billionaires and millionaires and things like that of hip hop. And I think it also speaks to why people may point at Kendrick right now, and I hate using this word, but giving him the savior attitude, because he seems to be adhering to almost everything that the underground loves about hip hop, and is still being pretty commercially successful. Now, is that an anomaly? I think that's the type of thing that Lupe is not communicating well. It may be an anomaly. But other people will say, well, we got the Jay-Z's, we got the Nas, etc. It's such a layered thing to want to discuss. But for me, I will say this. I think we should try to critique fairly. And for me, my critique fairly is, if you don't like what Lupe is saying, go at that. If you don't like what Kendrick thinks and saying, go at that. But when you guys start criticizing the immense talent and the immense skill, especially on a technical level, that these two MCs are on, I got to call your bluff.
This nigga didn't say anything. Niggas just fucking yap for 6 minutes. I didn't hear now one. Is he a fucking hater or what, bro? These niggas just be like, let's get.
Alright, when it comes to this whole Kendrick Lamar Lupe Fiasco situation, y'all aren't gonna like this, but I get what he's saying. Like, not everything he's been saying.
All right, talk to me, and get to the point.
Saying a lot of things on a lot of different platforms, and to me, it's clear on some level that Lupe Fiasco is jealous of Kendrick Lamar's success. But that being said, when he made that tweet about how Kendrick Lamar on like a lyricism level when it comes to puns, when it comes to wordplay, when it comes to entendres, isn't seeing him, I think that's true. I think Kendrick Lamar isn't seeing a lot of rappers when it comes to those kind of traditional definitions of hip-hop lyricism. But I think Kendrick Lamar's lyricism is so much more expansive to that, and more akin to the works of any great poet you can think of, as opposed to just like the specific subgenre of rap within poetry. I want to weave some music history into this explanation, but Kendrick Lamar's lyricism is about textures, it's about colors, it's about storytelling, and it's about emotion. He's channeling emotion. Like on The Heart Part 5, when he takes the last verse to speak through the voice of Nipsey Hussle, and he's taking like 8 bars just doing deep breaths before he starts rapping like Nipsey. And it really feels like you're hearing Nipsey rap, even though he's not doing Nipsey's voice. That's channeling. That is a form of artistic prowess that I think people sleep on because we get so obsessed with the technical brilliance. Lupe Fiasco, to me, is the most technically brilliant rapper making music right now. Like, flat out. Like, when it comes to the wordplay, the entendres, the awareness of cadence, he's the best. But Kendrick Lamar does that at a very high level, at a competitive level, and he's doing this very, very intense emotional, spiritual channeling work. Whether you like his music or not, like, he's emotive, and that plays into his lyricism. And so it's like, okay, yeah, he's not making the cleanest triple entendres every time. Sometimes the metaphors are very loose, but that's because that's part of his style. He's concerned with how to paint the canvas as opposed to like how to type the essay. And I think that's the difference between Lupe Fiasco and Kendrick Lamar. I think they're two of the greatest lyricists living right now, flat out. Not just in hip hop. Like, I think these guys, when it comes to putting words together on a different level. And it's funny that Lupe doesn't seem to be able to see that in Kendrick Lamar, and I wonder if Kendrick Lamar sees that in Lupe, because like their approach is very different. Like, again, like one is typing the greatest essay ever, and one is painting the greatest painting ever. But they're both great. I forgot to include the music history. So a lot of people consider Miles Davis the greatest jazz musician of all time. Some people consider him the greatest musician of all time. But the thing is, when Miles Davis was first coming up, it was during the bebop era, and he could hang with the guys who were doing.
But I don't give a fuck about Miles Davis.
But he was like, I need to cut my own lane, and so he came back with this style that is so much more simplistic and modal. And that's how he cut his teeth and was able to like carve his own lane, and his greatness was able to shine. For me, Kendrick Lamar kind of fits into the same bag. Like, if he's going triple entendre for triple entendre, pun for pun with a lot of other rappers, he's not holding up. But, you know, he's doing more than that. He's taking it in his own direction. And
listen, I'm tired of these fucking, bro. I wish they just get to the point. Kendrick Lamar is one of the most creative storytellers. I think, to cut you off, I'm gonna cut you off, is probably one of my favorite creative records that I had. Storytelling wise, I think I'm gonna cut you off is a good song from Kendrick Lamar. As far as being able to be lyrical and tap into that bag, he got songs like Rigor Mortis. That's one of my favorite records. But I still want to know, how is Lupe Fiasco a hater? I found some clips on the internet.
Lamar's not even in the top 100 lyrics.
Now, if he said that Kendrick Lamar is not a top 100 lyricist, that comes off as hate. That comes off as hate, because that's just false.
Lyricist, you know, if he can make a list, he can list 100 rappers that are lyrically better than Kendrick Lamar.
Nah, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. No fucking way. I disagree with that.
The thing with Dot, it's not at Dot, and I think this is where people get it confused. Like, you getting it confused, and you're a smart man. But let me lay it out to you, and stop me when I'm wilding. Don't agree with me, just stop me when I'm wilding. The Control verse, right? When that shit dropped, I honestly, on some rap shit, I'm like, that shit alright, right?
Nah. I guess to his standards, it was alright. A lot of motherfuckers was up in arms about that Control verse, though. For the people who got called out, for the people who didn't get mentioned, a lot of MCs felt some type of way that Kendrick Lamar didn't mention him on that Control verse. And the people who did get mentioned, the people who got mentioned on the Control verse, they wasn't even tripping that much. I think the only person that really had like a problem or thought it was a problem was probably Drake. But for the people who didn't get mentioned, they took it worse than the people who did get mentioned. And I think Lupe Fiasco was one of those MCs, along with others, who didn't get mentioned on the Control verse. And maybe he felt some type of way about that. And it's okay to feel some type of way about that, because if you were the original and you were giving out the double entendres, you was in your lyrical bag, you was in your MC bag, and then fast forward, another person who probably looked up to you, I don't know, do the same thing as you did, but they just get more noticed and praised for it, and you don't. I could see why you could feel some type of way about it. But my question is Do I think he's a hater? I can't say. I mean, your legacy is already solidified, so I can't say you a hater. But I could see it to where it's like, yo, like before there was a Kendrick, it was a Lupe, and I was doing my thing, and I was in my pocket. Now, fast forward when he comes, he's getting more love than I did. I don't know. I don't want to throw around that hater word too loosely, but to say that Kendrick Lamar is not a top 100, to say he's not a top 100 MC in this game, come on now. Maybe Lupe likes Kendrick Lamar, but maybe y'all dick rider, because I ain't gonna lie, some of y'all do be dick riding Kendrick. Y'all just be y'all be dick riding Kendrick. I say it all the time. Drake Drake had made up some shit about Kendrick, and Kendrick made up some shit about Drake, but nobody wants to talk about when Kendrick made up a lie that Drake was having a daughter. So there is a lot of Kendrick Lamar dick riders out there. I ain't gonna lie. So maybe he gets annoyed with the Kendrick Lamar dick riders. Who knows? I don't know. But to say he's not a top 100 best rapper in this game, that's crazy.
It was just alright.
My bad for my yap session.
Right, Verb? Just alright.
No. Wait a minute. Control? Dude be tripping.
The Control verse, right?
Yeah, he was.
It was
tripping.
just alright.
Just alright is crazy. That Control verse, that shit shook up. It was a moment. It was a moment.
He came out, he did some pop shit, and I think Academic said it recently the best. He's like, Kendrick ain't the best at making disses. He the best at making moments. So he made a moment. It wasn't like a technical. It wasn't even the best.
It was a moment.
Best verse on the song. It ain't even his best verse. How the fuck you talking about you the best rapper? It ain't your best verse, right? So it wasn't what.
On to say that
Let me see what Academics is talking. Maybe Academics will give me a better view on why Lupe Fiasco is hating on Kendrick. I want to know more. I want to know the loophole. I want to know the reason. Is it because people are giving Kendrick Lamar all his praises and they not giving Lupe no credit?
And I guess I'm amend my statement on Lupe a little bit. I think Lupe like Jay Electronica. I don't think neither of them hate Kendrick. I think they hate the dick riding of Kendrick.
Okay, so pretty much what I said. Y'all Kendrick fans do be meat riding. Y'all Drake fans too.
Right? These are guys who feel like they're capable MCs as well, but they don't understand and they don't get why. For Kendrick, he gets this weird level of dick riding from fans that they see him as he could do no wrong. He's the best. And not saying you can have the opinion that he's best, but they don't give him the faults that they give to other MCs with comparable talent.
Okay, well, all right. Okay. Now we're talking. We making a left, we making a right, we making a right, and we making a left, we making a right. We turning around and making another left just to get to the point. Make a right, make a left, we at our destination. Okay, I can see that. I see what Academics is talking about. Okay, I can see that.
For example, Jay Electronica, right? When Kendrick doesn't put out a fucking album for damn near 5 years, people are saying cook food takes time. When Jay Electronica drops one song and disappear, we call his ass lazy. You know what I mean?
I see what he talking about, but dropping one song in like 3-4 years is crazy compared to an album. An album, it has to be structured. It has to, you got to get it cleared. Samples got to get cleared, and it's a lot of bullshit that comes into making these albums in the game. Samples got to get cleared. A whole bunch. It's a whole process. So it may take maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, etc., etc. But for one song, it take you 4 years to make, or 9 years. How long did it take Jay Electronica when he wasn't dropping? Dropping one song a year, dropping one song in 9 years is crazy. Jay Electronica, how long? Did it take for him to drop? How long did it take for him to drop music? How long does it take to make it? How many? That's not no. How long did it take? For him to drop music. Okay, they didn't really give me a answer what I was looking for. Did they alright, they didn't give me an answer I was looking for, but basically what I'm trying to say is that Jay Electronica, it took a long time, maybe over 5 years, for him to drop one song. I can't compare that to an album, but I see what he's saying.
When Kendrick raps about spiritual miracles, we're like, yo, he's deep. We find meanings for shit he didn't even intend. When Lupe raps about a bunch of stuff and he has some layered bars, we're saying this nigga's just wasting words, right?
Wasting words is crazy.
So that's one of the things that I think MCs get kind of upset at. Like, yo, different rules for thee. And
okay, all right. So it's different rules for one person and it's different rules for the other person. But you can't blame Kendrick Lamar for that. That's the fans. That's the fans. I don't know. But I can't call Lupe no hater though, because he's the original. Before K Dot, there was a Lupe, and niggas did respect Lupe's pen, so I can't really call him a hater. But I could see him getting annoyed.
And for them, right?
I was kind of talking to his fans.
And I could see him. You start off with getting annoyed, and then it turns into being disgruntled, and that shit could turn into hate. I don't know. I'm just yapping at this point. We don't know if Lupe actually... He'll never... Even, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if Lupe really did hate on Kendrick Lamar, you wouldn't even know, because he'll never admit it, truth be told. But, I don't know. I digress. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'm out.